Hey friends, so I'm getting a little bit of a cold, so my voice might sound a little bit scratchy, but today I just wanted to kind of do my everyday makeup routine, kind of what I do, kind of my basic look that I've been doing pretty much all winter, kind of like my go-to makeup look if I'm like, I don't know what I want to do, this is what I do. And I want to do something simple today because I wanted to kind of talk about the last decade. Okay. We're not going to talk about like literally all of the last decade, but something that if you've been following my channel for any length of time, you might know, but I am a concert photographer in Seattle. And as I'm filming this, which is what day? I'm filming this video currently 5 days before the 10-year anniversary of the first time I got a photo pass and I went to go shoot a show for a publication, you know. I had been writing for a publication for a little while before then, and then I was like, wait, I can get into things for free to take pictures? Hello! So we're just gonna talk about the last 10 years when it comes to that stuff. We're gonna talk about concert photography again. So if you're new here, this is a thing that I do all the time. So I will be including footage that I've taken at shows over the years. Probably most of it will be from this last year because that's mostly what I have access to. And you know, sometimes you don't want to dig into files from years and years and years ago. I will leave a link in a card to my reel if you are ever interested in seeing kind of like all of that in one place, seeing what I have worked on, stuff that, you know, I'm proud of. Whether it's projects with friends or projects for work or what have you. Most of what I've done is photography. I only recently started doing video more like seriously in the last couple of years, but and also I always leave a link in my description to my portfolio, my photography website, which I post to semi-regularly. I probably post to my Instagram more regularly, which I have a separate Instagram for my photo work as opposed to just like my influencer Instagram. So please follow me on both those places if you feel so inclined. I do also wedding photography on occasion too when one happens, but most of what I post is live music. So if you're interested in that stuff, please check it out. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of look back on the last 10 years. I started shooting shows. Let me get my concealer on, actually. Let me just pour this all out. This is just how all my get ready with me start, right? Just me just pouring out all my shit on the bed. Like I said, it was 2009 when I started doing concert photography, and the first show I ever shot was of two bands that no longer exist anymore, but one band that still exists. If you are at all involved in I don't know, Seattle indie scene. Telekinesis was one of the bands playing, and they're still around. They're still making music. The Lonely Forest and this band called the Globes, which isn't playing out anymore, but consequentially, pretty much everybody in all of those bands are still playing out in various places. They're just not currently in those bands. So I shot a show at the Showbox, which was the first thing I ever did. Seriously, getting a photo pass, having any sort of idea of what I should be doing. I still had no idea what I was doing. I remember on the way there, I stopped at Tall's Camera at South Center Mall, literally on the way to Seattle, because at the time I lived an hour away. And I actually got a Facebook memory recently where I was asking people for which lenses should I get for these things that I'm shooting in a week and a half. And that was pretty funny, just seeing that I can look back on those conversations and on those threads where people are like, get this lens. And the first lens I ever bought was a Canon 50mm f1.8. It was plastic, $100, very cheap. And I used pretty much that lens for I feel 3 years. I just used that lens. Maybe it wasn't 3 years, maybe it was just 2, but for a long time that was the only lens I was using because I couldn't afford to go buy a $1,200 lens, which most of them cost, the bigger ones. My 24-70, which is what I used to film, is about a $1,200 lens, and then my 70-200, my telephoto lens, that one's also about $1,200. So it's not a cheap hobby in the slightest. So if you're ever wanting to get into photography, start with something cheap. cheap and then work your way up from there to the point where like, oh, maybe I should invest in a wider angle lens and a telephoto. Maybe rent it a couple times to see which ones you like. But yeah, I shot with a little piece of plastic for like 2 years straight. And I'm glad I did, because I feel like it made me a lot more creative. Like looking back on some of those shots, I'm like, okay, I had no clue what I was doing when it comes to like editing and like lighting. That camera that I had, which was a Canon Rebel XTI, which was a whole
10 megapixels.
Wow, which like phones are more than now. This was 2009, okay? I had a Canon Rebel XTI that I loved, and it only went up to like 1600 ISO, which nowadays, if I'm shooting at 1600 ISO, I'm like, oh, there's so much light here. Like, I never shoot at 1600 unless there is a lot of light. So most of the time I'm shooting at 2000 at shows, because most of the things I go to are dark. Looking back on those, I'm like, wow, I really only had this to work with. Okay. Now my camera goes up to like 12,000 ISO, which is crazy compared to literally my first camera went up to 1600. I think my second camera, the 70, went up to like 64, maybe 8,000. But this one goes up to like 12,000, which is a Canon 5D Mark III, and I love it with my whole body, my whole being. It's the most expensive thing that I own. Like I said, it's an expensive hobby, y'all. I'm so surprised that I still have some of this Urban Decay eye primer. This is the shade Eden. I feel like I've had this for literally like 6 years, and it still works. It hasn't run out, but I do want to try some other primers. So if you guys have any other primers that you like, I've been hearing good things about the Anastasia one, but the fact that it like spits out of the tube, it's kind of liquidy, so, you know. In the last 10 years, I've gotten to do so many things because of photography and because of that first like fateful show
10 years ago.
I think about it a lot. I think a lot about like cause and effect, and a lot about like what was the thing that like led to this other thing, you know, and what brought me to this person and then this person. Like I think about that a lot. I don't know why, but recently hit like my 5-year anniversary of living in Seattle, which is also something interesting because I feel like without photography, I wouldn't have all the same friends that I have. I'm starting to go to shows, meeting photographers, meeting bands, becoming friends with those bands introducing me to other people who I'm now friends with. And then from there, like, I would not be the person I am without starting to take photos 10 years ago. I had my camera for a little while before I started concert photography. I had my camera, my parents got it for me as a graduation gift from high school, and I started taking photos in high school, kind of recreationally, I guess. And then at college, when I was on the college newspaper, I fell into the photo editor position because our photo editor had a baby and started taking night classes, so we needed a new person to just like run that. I'm gonna be using the green tea macchiato palette from Midas, and usually what I'll do on any given day is one of these two shades, barista or short. How many times have I talked about girl loves a mustard eyeshadow? This is a nice mustard eyeshadow, and I'm wearing mustard, so let's do that. Wipe off my brush. There we go. Okay, so ironically, the first year I went to Sasquatch was the year I started shooting shows, but I didn't shoot Sasquatch because I was just going for one day as like a regular just fan, and my sister and I went for a day, and my mom hung out in Eastern Washington for the day and then came and picked us up at the end of it. But the next year was the first year I photographed it, so I really only like have been going to music festivals since I've been photographing them, which has made my view of music festivals definitely different than a lot of people's. Like, I know, what is that? What did I get on my face? What are you? I thank my lucky stars every day thinking about how much money I've saved from shooting shows and not having to pay to go to things. It also makes it so that whenever I go to things now and I don't have my camera, I'm like,
what do I do with my hands?
You know, like, what do I do with my hands? It's always so weird now not having my camera. which is why I'm thinking of getting, well, I'm going to get, I probably will have already got it by the time this video is uploaded, the Canon G7X. I want to be able to have a camera that I can take around with me and take pictures of just like family stuff, friend stuff that isn't like a fucking 6-pound, 7-pound brick of a camera. I like having a camera on me at all times because while I'm very much of the mindset where it's like enjoy things in the moment and don't just like take pictures all the time, like don't focus on like capturing the moment when you could just live in the moment. Because my mother and my grandmother were the matriarchs of their family and also just like the photographers of their family. My grandmother has so many photos of my parents and me as a kid and my sister and my grandfather. My grandfather's family didn't really have that because their house burned down when he was a kid. So there's a lot of those photos that are lost. And so because of that, I'm like super hyper aware of just like having things documented for future generations and not just like on your phone, because like otherwise that's just all in the cloud, and then Facebook and Google has all of your information. You don't need to just take pictures on your phone, which is why I want to get that Canon G7X, because I want to be able to take pictures but not just have them on my phone all the time, because while like I use my phone every day and it's important for me to have, like phones themselves are still like, there's always a question of like, what's gonna happen to these pictures? Everything's kind of fleeting, you know? So I like the idea of having a separate little camera that I can just like take around with me. Because we had point and shoots when I was a kid. I haven't had a point and shoot since like high school. And I don't know if I like got a complex after that. I was like,
Oh, point and shoots are crap. I don't need any like Canon, like
little shitty like Nikon Coolpix and whatever. Now point and shoots are like really good, and I don't know how I feel about it because I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like we had the shittiest little cameras when I was younger. I mean, I know technology changes, but it like makes not like envious of young people now, but it's like, hey, we walked so you could run with all this gear. Like we roughed it out, fucking like we have the shittiest gear. And now you can like film full fucking movies on a phone. Like what the hell? Like one thing I've also really been enjoying doing more lately, don't know why, maybe it's just the fact that My Chemical Romance are coming back and I feel the need to line my waterline, and it's just my emo coming out. I've been lining my upper and lower waterline a lot more lately. Why? I'm not sure. Ooh, well, I'm apparently gonna be smudging the top a little bit. It's got a little bit of liner on the top, so I'm just smudging it in with that same brush that I used for the mustard, just to incidentally give it some depth. Yeah, looking at photos from these last 10 years just make me really thankful that I got into it when I did, because it has gone from like a fun hobby, you know, like a fun, expensive hobby, to like a lifelong passion that I never expected. When I was in high school, I wanted to do journalism, and while photojournalism is still a profession that I see myself that I could do at some point, but I don't know. Something about picking up the camera and doing that made me rethink some of that. I still appreciate journalism as a profession, and I still love the time that I had in high school and college on my college and high school newspapers. It's just like something switched when I picked up the camera. Taking a little more of the mustard to build up on the black. I'm getting very low. I hit pan on this contour shade. I'm so proud of myself. I might have to buy a backup. What? Thankfully, this one's not panned yet, but this is the Lunatic Cosmetic Labs contour book, if you're new here. What kind of got me wanting to make a video, besides the fact that it's been 10 years since I started shooting shit, and it's just defined the last decade of my life, like defined my 20s in a way. I shot a couple of weddings in September, and while they were very fun and I enjoyed them, and I loved the fact that I got to be the photographer to capture some of my best friends' like special days and be that person, and the fact that they chose me to do that is really special, because a lot of people I know really don't like the idea of doing wedding photography, and while it can be stressful, definitely it can be stressful, it also can be really rewarding and fulfilling, especially if most of the people that you shoot their weddings and end up working with are people that you know. I feel like it's way more fun because it makes everybody more comfortable. It makes it so that it's just you know them as a person, and you know what they want, and you know what they like, and you know that they'll be able to just like tell you it straight. Like there's no like awkwardness because they're your friends. So because I shot weddings in September and I was working through all the photos, it was a lot of work, and because I love them as people, they're friends of mine, I wanted to give them more and I wanted to work really hard on them because I valued that. And so it took me longer to kind of get through stuff, and because of that, I wasn't really shooting stuff. Like I wasn't going to shows in October, like at all. I think I went to like one weird little acoustic thing in Capitol Hill, but that was it. And then last weekend from me filming this, there was a festival in Ballard that I was on the house team. I was on the house photography team along with several of my friends, people who I shoot shows with regularly. And it was super fucking cool. Like, this festival is called Freak Out Festival, and it's put on by the guys who run Freak Out Records, which is a local record label that kind of focuses more on like psychedelic stuff, but they also have just other artists that's not just psychedelic things. But it was really cool, really fun. It was at all these freestanding venues already. It wasn't like they had to build stages and stuff, and I was running around for 3 days. And it was just really nice because after last year, Sasquatch getting canceled, it's been a lot of just like me kind of filling that space with smaller local festivals, which ends up being like sometimes more rewarding because it's like, you know, the people are playing, like, you know, the people who are putting it on, you know, who are playing, like, it just makes for a really fun time. And, I don't know. I love live music, and that reminds me, I saw like a quote from Grimes the other day saying that like live music will be obsolete, and I'm just like, screw you, Grimes. Like, just because you are able to like make all this like electronic music, and the privilege that has to take, and the out of touchness that has to take to say that live music is going to be obsolete, fuck you, Grimes. That pissed me off. And I was like, the one time I saw Grimes live, it was at Sasquatch like 6 years ago, and my sister's feet got peed on, and then I witnessed a hand job in the crowd, and I was like, that just puts a bad taste in my mouth about Grimes. Like, I've always like enjoyed her music, but I never was like, there was something about her that bothered me after that quote, after saying that live music's gonna be obsolete, and I was like, screw you, dude. For me, seeing live music now, because it's such a regular thing, like literally for the first 5 years of the decade, when I didn't live in Seattle, I would drive an hour, sometimes once a week, to go to shows in Seattle because that's how long the drive was. It was like almost 100-mile ride there and back. And so it was a commitment for sure. And because it turned into that, and when I moved to the city, I would go to shows sometimes multiple times a week. I still do. This last month and a half, I haven't been going to much, and then doing Freakout Fest was like this like jolt of energy to my soul, because when I don't go see live music, it takes a toll on me. Like, I get more down, and it just, because the dopamine and the endorphins that get released when I'm seeing live music, it's just such a warm and wonderful environment for me, because I've kind of gravitated towards this group of people that are great folks and that put on great shows and that cultivate safe spaces and cultivate welcoming and friendly environments and welcoming and friendly shows. And it's just a great time. And I don't know, like I used to be, I mean, I still consider myself somewhat introverted at times, but this has helped me not be as introverted. But just as much, even more so, like, shows have made me not be as introverted. And I don't like to say that it's like part of my identity, but it kind of is. Like, my little brush has to find my brush, taking the Give Me Glow highlight in the shade Halo. Here we go, Abby. Oh boy. No, I'm okay. Blend it out a little bit. Abby, I know you're sitting. I know you need to clean out your sinuses, but we need to film. Okay, I'll put some mascara on. So yeah, I've just been feeling really nostalgic about the last 10 years, and I thought about this year about like getting a gallery together, but I never ended up doing it because I just kept getting distracted, and YouTube got to be more fun and more lucrative, so I just devoted more time to that, and you know, shit happens. But I was looking at photos from like the first year I ever shot stuff, and the first little like big show that I did, because I did this Lonely Forest show at the Showbox, which was good. It was like bigger. And then Rooney and Tally Hall did a show at this club, El Corazon, which I never go to because I hate it. But back in the day, it wasn't nearly as shitty as it is now. But that was like all within a week of each other, and it was like November 27th and then December 2nd. I'm almost sure of the days. And then later that month, later in December, I managed to get a press pass to a radio show at the Key Arena. No, it was at WAMU. Deck the Hall Ball, which was 107.7 The End's Christmas radio show. And I've been... How many times have I been to Deck the Hall Ball? I went in 2004 as just a fan, and then 2009 to photograph, and then 2010 and 2011, I think. And then I went again, maybe in 2015, 2014. I've been a handful of times, and that first year I went, it was Muse headlining. You can see how old it is. Muse, Vampire Weekend, Metric, Phoenix, 30 Seconds to Mars, and that might have been it. Seriously, if you guys ever want to look at all the photos I've taken, I'll leave a link to my Flickr account in the description because there's a lot, and they go back 10 years, which is crazy. It's been a great decade, and I mean, I almost started doing YouTube right around the same time too, which is mind-blowing. I'll definitely do a video. I'll have to go back and look and see like when my first videos were. I might do like a reacting to my early YouTube videos as well, which could be kind of fun for Vlogmas. And because I've been very lazy this like as of late when it comes to lip products, I don't like doing matte lipsticks. I don't know, I've just been really liking lip gloss, and so I followed Nisa's lead and took the Glossier lip gloss. This is the original Glossier clear gloss, and then I put a little bit of one of the vinylic lip pigments in here, and it's made this really pretty, like, I don't know, strawberry toned lip gloss that doesn't add a lot of color, but just a bit of a tint. Nice and sheer pink kind of color. Just adds a little bit of life back into my lips because my natural lip pigmentation is kind of like doesn't do a whole lot. But yeah, this is what I've been doing when I don't know what to do on my face. Pretty much. Nothing revolutionary. I usually switch up my jewelry a lot more than my makeup lately because I have a lot of jewelry. I just wanted to sit down and kind of talk through and reminisce about the last 10 years when it comes to concert photography, and just kind of talk about it because I do like talking about it, and I know that not a lot of people always are interested in it, so I figured I could mix my everyday makeup look with it for people who maybe aren't as familiar with that part of my life, because that's one of the biggest parts of my life, and it's been a part of it for 10 years. Yeah, all the products I used on my face will be in the description, as well as my earrings. This necklace, I have no idea where it came from, but and then these are press-on nails from Impress Kiss something from Target. I don't know. Yes, I bought 6 pairs of press-on nails. I'm excited, okay? I've been really liking press-on nails lately, okay? So, if you like this video, let me know in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up as well. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. That would be awesome. I'm posting new videos all month long for Vlogmas. To my patrons, y'all are great. I appreciate you. So thank you for being patient with me, and thank you for supporting me continuously. I love you. Today's song of the day. I need a song of the day. Since we've talked about Phoenix enough. Well, no, let's see. Show. Let's find a Telekinesis song, because that was the first show I ever shot, and he's actually still making music. Today's song of the day is A Place in the Sun by Telekinesis. I guess it came out in February from the newest Telekinesis record, Effluxion. So check it out. It's very it's indie pop. It's indie pop rock. If you like Built to Spill, you'll probably like Telekinesis. Definitely if you like Built to Spill, the more upbeat kind of death cab stuff. I really like Telekinesis, and like I said, I've been listening to their music for literally 10 years. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was helpful in some way, shape, or form. It probably wasn't, but otherwise, I will see you all tomorrow. Bye!